Welcome back. The big global news tonight. New York State Governor Andrew Cuomo has announced his resignation from office following an investigative inquiry that found he had sexually harassed 11 women. The embattled governor has been called on to resign following the damning state attorney general's report last week. It details the accounts of multiple women and concluded that his actions had violated both state and federal law. He is accused of groping, kissing and making suggestive comments to women, including current and former state employees, with the AG's report concluding that his administration had fostered a toxic and hostile work environment.
This is one of the most challenging times for government in a generation. Government really needs to function today. Government needs to perform. It is a matter of life and death, government operations. And wasting energy on distractions is the last thing that state government should be doing. And I cannot be the cause of that. New York tough means New York loving. And I love New York. And I love you. And everything I have ever done has been motivated by that love. And I would never want to be unhelpful in any way. And I think that given the circumstances, the best way I can help now is if I step aside and let government get back to governing. And therefore, that's what I'll do, because I work for you. And doing the right thing is doing the right thing for you.
All right, we cross live now to our correspondent in New York, Sherwin Bryce-peace. Sherwin, great to have you with us as always. So the New York governor seemed to be in this fighting mood. Did it just become untenable, his situation, given the mountain of claims and the political pressure?
And recall, Francis, why it is we are focusing on one of the 50 governors in the United States, because Andrew Cuomo became the darling in terms of the COVID-19 response, both here in the United States and around the world. I know so many South Africans would tune in to get his daily televised briefing. So this precipitous fall following, of course, the accusations earlier this year and then the 5-month Attorney General's report in the state of New York and, of course, her damning findings revealed last week, one then began to see the political pressure crystallize against the governor of New York from the likes of President Joe Biden that said he should resign. Nancy Pelosi called for his resignation. Both senators from New York, including the Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, said he needed to go. And then in addition to that, you had at least 4 local state prosecutors requesting information from the Attorney General's office as they were looking into the criminal probe as it pertained to the governor's conduct. In addition to that, the State Assembly in New York was already conducting impeachment proceedings against the embattled governor. In fact, the Speaker of the State Assembly in New York, Carl Heastie, spoke to this a few days ago. This is what he said. Watch.
Now with the Attorney General's task completed, the Assembly is working to expeditiously conclude our investigation, which covers a broad range of issues, so that we can bring this sad chapter of our state's history to a conclusion. As I stated last week, the governor has clearly lost the confidence of the majority members of the New York State Assembly. The Attorney General's report lays out in painful detail the many instances and ways in which he reportedly harassed and created a hostile work environment for the employees of the executive chamber and others he came in contact with.
So, Francis, as much as Governor Cuomo would like to frame this as him departing because of a love for the people of New York and for the state of New York, look at the facts. The political allies were deserting him, including his most vociferous supporters within the State Assembly. The writing was on the wall. His political allies had deserted him. This was not just about the love for New York.
Yeah, and certainly, I mean, in that speech, you heard nothing that resembles a confession. And he has rejected the notion that he did anything that rises to the level of sexual harassment. But that 165-page report released last week says otherwise. Remind us of some of the details.
Well, it's an interesting question, Francis. The governor earlier speaking as well about how he has never touched anyone inappropriately or made inappropriate sexual advances. He called this investigation politically motivated. His lawyers raised serious concerns and flaws about the process that unfolded. He talked about the difference between alleged improper conduct and concluding that sexual harassment had taken place. But this was a very meticulous investigation. A 165-page report, as you mentioned. The AG's investigation interviewing 179 people. The detail and the meticulous nature of the detail that is presented in the report is quite damning. And I'll let Letitia James articulate exactly what she found. This is the Attorney General of New York speaking last week. Watch.
The independent investigation found that Governor Cuomo sexually harassed multiple women, many of whom were young women, by engaging in unwanted groping, kisses, hugging, and by making inappropriate comments. Further, the governor and his senior team took actions to retaliate against at least one former employee for coming forward with her story, her truth. And Governor Cuomo's administration fostered a toxic workplace that enabled harassment and created a hostile work environment where staffers did not feel comfortable coming forward with complaints about sexual harassment due to a climate of fear and given the power dynamics.
And people here, Francis, also talking about how this is the fall of a political dynasty. People abroad won't know that Governor Cuomo's father was also the governor of New York State for many, many years. So this is a big political moment, not only in the state of New York, but certainly reverberating, certainly among Democratic circles in the United States today.
Sherwin, I've seen some commentators on Twitter, for example, talking about the fact that he's still in office for 14 days. So after 14 days, what happens? His term was due to expire only in December next year. So who will fill that void?
Yeah, he's given himself a 2-week runway here for a lift-off into who knows where, Francis. But he will be in office for the next 2 weeks, upon which he will step down. The Lieutenant Governor, Kathy Hatchell, essentially the Deputy Governor in the state of New York, she has been in that position since 2015, will then automatically take over from Governor Cuomo and finish his term, which, of course, ends in December 2022. And then it's election season in the United States next year again. So there are also conversations going on here about whether Governor Cuomo might put his hat into the political ring again if there are no criminal charges brought, a la Donald Trump, who might run in the next presidential election, Francis.
Wow. Thank you for that update. Sherwin Bryce-peace reporting live from New York.